start.
What's going on? We back like the Juggernaut, bitch, for our next topic, New Gaming Order Podcast 3/5/2015. Now, those of you on YouTube who are just joining us, make sure you check out our impression video on Frieza and his gold looking like the Oscar statue. So check that out. Leave your comments and rate, comment, and subscribe to our channel. All right. So the next topic that we're gonna tackle is Epic making the Unreal 4 engine free. Wow, that's pretty damn cool. You know what I mean? Because considering that, I guess their objective is to get that engine out to as many people as possible. However, the catch is, let's say I decide to start using the Epic engine, get my C+ and all that in order, and I make a game. Any revenue that I make that's over $3,000, I forget what the percentage
per quarter, it's 5%.
5%. Now, I think that's reasonable, and not to mention those who paid for the engine before, licensing and whatnot, they'll be reimbursed that with I think there's like their Xbox Live PSN style store where they can buy tools for the engine to credit them back for whatever they paid for it. So I think that's cool. And there's game templates that will be available to developers, indie developers. I think that's cool. If they have a fighting game template, I'm gonna be like starting to mess around with that, because now the one thing that as a kid that was my dream is to make like a legitimate fighter. So looking at Guilty Gear Xrd and the Unreal Engine, I mean, that'd be some cool stuff. But with that that tool being given out to the public, is that a good or a bad thing? I only see good things coming out of it, because now you can see a lot of kick-ass creativity. And a lot of my Mugen people, if they decide to switch over to 3D, imagine the possibilities, But could copyright things become an issue? Like people making legitimate fighters, like let's say Injustice 2 or freaking DC versus Marvel 3D or all this crazy stuff. Like, is that going to be a good or a bad thing? But starting with Nelson, and we'll work our way around, unless you want to go last. How can this help the gaming community that Epic went this route with their engine?
It can help them greatly, and then it can also not help them. It's depending of like how open the engine is allowed for people to be used and touch upon it. It may not be as user friendly as it may seem, unless if they give us like a guided tutorial handbook of like literally what we can do of like to what extent. Well, I mean, like, if people take the idea, as we was mentioning before, like fighting games for an example, and take that engine and use it upon themselves, we could probably get some good indie fighters that could probably be the new fighter of next gen. You never know. I mean, there's a lot of talented people out there, and I know a couple that's like my close personal friends, and they would love to get their hands on something like this and make their own game. But I mean, we'll just see what happens with the creative mind. But as of also with the whole profiting thing and whatnot, I mean, we can't really decide until like we actually get the actual source to mess with and see what guidelines they come up with as follow. So. Okay. Shin Takuma, what are your thoughts? Real quick, before Shin Takuma goes, apparently NYC Playboy has announced that he's going back to Asia by the end of the month, and he says that if we need any souvenirs, let him know so he can bring some back.
Hey, what can he bring?
So that's what he's saying. And then he says also, I see good things coming out of it because you can now have an independent studio to make a AAA style looking game.
Yeah.
He's right.
Amen. But with AAA games like games like Gears of War and Order and like mocap and like if they're doing cutscenes and stuff, like that's gonna require like a budget. You know what I mean? So
One last thing. In Illustrated Dio says that he's chugging on lemonade while pre-ordering tons of games off of Amazon, and at the same time, he's checking out our very cool fucking podcast.
Oh, thank you. We're always looking for new subscribership and new supporters. Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate it. All right, so where was I? Takuma.
Me, and I'm sorry, but I don't have any knowledge as far as in what's coming out as far as this, so I'm gonna have to pass. But all I can say, if it's free, get it. If it's not, then something you want to look into.
I'll put it to you like this: Guilty Gear Xrd was built on that engine. Now imagine if someone like me, wraps my head around it, and I can make like a fighter with those tools accessible. You know what I mean? I think that's going to open some interesting possibilities.
Now, you're making your own file. You're not inserting to their game, are you? Or you just making...
No. Making, like, your own stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I think it's good for people who want to create new things, create new video games, create new characters. I think it's a great opportunity. I would more than welcome and take it and everything else. So I would do it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, on your knees, what are your thoughts on... like such a big developer releasing that to the public?
It's a good thing for the most part. I mean, the deal that they want their cut, it's understandable. I'm not sure what they normally charge. I'd imagine it's probably around that or maybe even more. So this just opens the door for them to get it out to more people. They don't have to manage it as much. Yeah. Because then they don't have to worry about collecting money from people, out the gate. I don't know how they're going to keep track of who downloads it and whatnot. I don't know if they're going to have an account or register your products with them or not.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
they have to track it, So.
Yeah, but even at $3,000, if your product makes $3,000 a quarter, that's only a $150 check. You have to cut them, so it's not much that you're paying out of pocket for it. And most games, if they make an engine from scratch, that takes the bulk of the time.
Yeah.
So that's that'll save a lot of people a lot of time, and it does open the gates for even more people to program games. There's too many as there is right now, so I'm going to take back what I said. It's a bad thing just for that reason.
Well, Capcom is building Street Fighter 5 using Unreal. So I guess it was a cost-cutting measure.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's the engine's already out there, and if something goes wrong, they have support for it. They don't have to troubleshoot it themselves.
So it makes it easier for even like established developers, but really ups the ante for the indie developers. So it's going to be interesting. And to bring it home, Shinwar, what are your thoughts on the Unreal Engine now being available for free to the public?
Put the power in the players' hands. Put the power in the people's hands. That's all I got to say about that.
Unbelievable. All right. But anybody want to wrap up our final comments before we take intermission?
I'm still not wearing any pants.
Dag.
Unbelievable.
For you indie developers out there that's really good with utilizing 100% of this source engine when you do get your hands on it, please bring back a couple of games that we desperately need. I mean,
but that could be a licensing issue too.
But the thing is, if it gets pressed by the right publisher, it can go through, depending on like how the structure of the game is. I mean, granted, the same thing with Kojima. He was allowing an indie company or any other company to remake Metal Gear Solid 1, and he says said that if you can get the money, I'm down for it. I'll put my name on it, and you got to go. Some of these companies will allow it.
Interesting.
So
this is gonna be interesting. I definitely am looking forward to that. So, okay, good stuff.
Also, Illustrated Dio says that he's waiting for the day that Nintendo to start using these game engines such as the Cry and Unreal Engine, but I may be stretching it a bit.
Oh, the Wii U would melt if it tried to run the Cry engine. Who do you think?
But I mean, as a future consoles, if Nintendo decides to make another one, I mean,
they do have that rumor, whatever Nintendo Next.
If they're making a console, they're always going to be making one. They just, it's in, pre-alpha, it's on the drawing boards, this type of stage. But if they're console makers still going to be making consoles, they're still working on one. If they decide to cancel it down the road, that's a different story.
Right.
But they're always going to be making one.
All right, good stuff. Okay. New Gaming Order fans, YouTube, we're taking our intermission. Make sure you check out our segments as we trickle them out on the YouTube archive, and we'll have the rest of this on newgamingorder.com. So please, support us, rate, comment, and subscribe. For our live folks, stay with us through intermission. For our YouTube, we're breaking it up, and we'll see you on the next segment. Peace.